The stars above Jupiter bent and twisted. Space itself seemed to tear open like old cloth. Then they came through, ship after ship after ship, 10,000 warships, each one larger than any building ever built on Earth. The Dominion had arrived. Overlord stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the blue planet in the distance. Earth. Such a small world, such a young species. He had conquered 43 civilizations before this one. Some had fought, some had begged, all had fallen. Humans would be no different. "Send the message," commanded. His voice was deep and cold like stones grinding together. Commander bowed his head and activated the transmission array. The message would reach every screen, every radio, every device on Earth. There would be no hiding from it. "People of Earth," his recorded voice boomed across the planet. "I am Overlord of the Dominion. You have 7 solar cycles to surrender your world. Give us your resources, your labor, your obedience. Resist, and you will be destroyed. We have crushed 43 civilizations. You will not be the 44th to survive. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. Smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. He expected panic. He expected world leaders crying and begging. He expected missiles launched in desperate fear. He received silence. Hours passed. No response came from Earth. No nuclear weapons flew toward his fleet. No radio signals begged for mercy. The planet simply continued spinning, as if the largest invasion fleet in galactic history was not sitting at its doorstep. "Perhaps their communications are primitive," suggested. "Perhaps they did not receive our message." Shook his head. "They received it. Their satellites shifted after the broadcast. They heard us." "Then why do they not respond?" Did not have an answer. Far below, deep beneath the mountains of the Korean peninsula, Admiral stood in a room that did not exist on any map. The facility was buried 2 kilometers underground. It had been built over 300 years, one shovel of dirt at a time. No satellite had ever seen it. No spy had ever found it. The world's most important secret lived here. The Admiral was an old man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had spent his entire life preparing for this day. So had his father, and his grandfather, and every generation before them, stretching back further than most people could imagine. "Confirmed," said the intelligence analyst sitting at her console. She was young, barely 30, but her family had served in this facility for 6 generations. 10,412 vessels, Dominion configuration, exactly as the ancient texts described. Nodded slowly. "After all this time, they are finally here." The door behind him opened, and Doctor entered. She was the chief scientist of the Millennium Project, and she carried a tablet displaying data that would have made any astronomer faint. She had spent 40 years studying artifacts that most humans did not know existed. "The energy signatures match," said. "Same species, same technology base. They have improved their ships over 12,000 years, but the core designs are identical." 12,000 years, repeated softly. "Our ancestors first saw these creatures 12,000 years ago, and now their descendants have come to finish what one scout started." The story was known to only a few thousand people on Earth. In the year 10,000 BCE, a small spacecraft crashed in what would later be called Antarctica. The ice was different then, and humans lived on that frozen continent. They found the ship. They found the dying pilot inside. The pilot was wounded beyond saving, but before he died, he spoke to the humans who found him. He told them everything. His species, though, were conquerors. They moved from world to world, taking everything, leaving nothing, and they had detected Earth. The planet's faint electromagnetic signature had reached their sensors. They would come. Maybe not soon by standards, but eventually. When Earth grew bright enough, developed enough, the Dominion would arrive. The pilot told the ancient humans this because he hated his own kind. His had been conquered by the Dominion centuries before his birth. He had been raised as a slave soldier, forced to help destroy other civilizations. Finding Earth, Knowing his masters would one day come here, he made a choice. He crashed his scout ship on purpose, and he gave the humans a gift. He gave them warning. He gave them time. He gave them the knowledge stored in his ship's computers, star maps, technology, weapons designs, the history and weaknesses of the Dominion, everything a young species would need to prepare for the coming storm. The ancient humans listened, they believed, and they began to prepare. The warning was passed down through generations. Secret societies formed to protect the knowledge. Priests and scholars preserved the alien data in coded myths and hidden texts. The crashed ship was buried and guarded. Humanity grew and developed, and always in the shadows, the preparation continued. The pyramids were built as power collectors, designed to gather and store energy for future use. The Great Wall of China was an antenna array, built to detect incoming signals from deep space. Every ancient wonder served a double purpose. The public saw monuments. The keepers of the secret saw weapons. Time passed. Empires rose and fell. But the preparation never stopped. Each generation added to the work of the last. Mathematics advanced so that one-day ships could be built. Metallurgy improved so that one-day weapons could be forged. Wars were fought, and each war pushed technology forward faster. The world wars were terrible, but they accelerated everything. Rockets, radar, nuclear power, computers. Each horror brought humanity closer to readiness. Then, in 1947, the Hidden Keepers revealed the crashed scout ship to world governments. The secret finally spread beyond the ancient societies. Nations that had been enemies united in hidden cooperation. The Cold War and space race were covers for the real project, getting humanity into space, building the weapons they would need. Now, in the year 2247, that work was complete. Admiral looked at the main screen, showing the alien fleet near Jupiter. 10,000 ships, the greatest invasion force the galaxy had ever seen. He smiled. "Send our response," he said. His fingers flew across her console. A single transmission shot out from Earth, aimed directly at the flagship. On his bridge, Overlord received the message. He read it. He read it again. For the first time in his centuries-long life, he felt something strange, something cold in his chest, something he had not felt since he was a young warrior facing his first battle. The message from Earth contained only 5 words. "We have been expecting you." Stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he turned to his strategist, a named who had planned the conquest of a dozen worlds. "What does this mean?" demanded. Studied his own sensors. His scales, normally dark green, were turning pale. "Overlord, I am detecting power signatures on their moon and on the 4th planet, and throughout their asteroid belt." "What kind of power signatures?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "Weapons, Overlord, weapons everywhere. They were hiding them. They have been hiding them for a very long time." Looked back at the small blue planet. Suddenly, it did not seem so small anymore. In the underground command center, Admiral watched the alien fleet on his screen. Beside him, Doctor was coordinating with bases on the Moon, on Mars, on Europa, and in 100 other hidden locations. "All stations report ready," announced. Nodded, he pressed a button on his console, activating the global defense network. Across the solar system, satellites shifted position. Hidden bases powered up. Weapons that had waited centuries for this moment came online. 12,000 years, said quietly. 12,000 years of preparation. Every generation working toward this day, and now it is here. He looked at his officers, at intelligence. Captain Minu, who would lead the first strike. General, who commanded the ground forces. The engineer who had spent her life perfecting humanity's weapons. They were all calm. They had trained their entire lives for this. So had their parents. So had their grandparents. The fear that expected to see in human eyes did not exist. There was only readiness. "They believe they are predators," said. "They believe we are prey, but they made a mistake 12,000 years ago. They let us see them coming, and prey that sees the predator coming has time to grow teeth of its own." He straightened his uniform and gave the order that would begin the war. "All stations, prepare for contact. The wait is over." Above Earth, hidden beneath lunar dust and Martian rock and the ice of distant moons, humanity's teeth began to show. Overlord was not worried. Strange message or not, humans were still a young species on a small planet. His fleet had crushed civilizations far older and far more advanced. One confusing transmission would not change the outcome. "Deploy the Vanguard," he ordered. 500 ships. Destroy their orbital defenses and their satellite network. Show them what happens to species that do not bow. Commander relayed the orders. 500 warships broke formation and accelerated toward Earth. Each ship was 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could turn cities to glass. The Vanguard alone carried enough firepower to destroy Earth 10 times over. "This will be quick," said confidently. "They will surrender before sunset on their world." Nodded, but something still bothered him. The power signatures had detected the calm tone of the human message. Something was wrong, but he could not name it. On the moon's dark side, Captain Minu sat in the cockpit of his fighter. The craft was sleek and silver, shaped like a knife. It looked nothing like the clumsy rockets humans had used 2 centuries ago. This ship was built using knowledge from the ancient texts, then improved upon for thousands of years. "Strike Team Horizon, report status," Minu said into his comm. 12 voices responded. 12 pilots, each one the best humanity had trained. Each one ready to die for Earth. Each one hopping they would not have to. "Enemy Vanguard approaching," his voice came through from the command center. 500 ships. They are moving in standard attack formation. Pattern 7, just like the ancient texts described. Minu smiled. They had not changed their tactics in 12,000 years. Why would they? Their tactics always worked. Every species they faced was caught off guard, unprepared, primitive by comparison. But humanity had studied those tactics for. They knew every move they would make before they made it. "All teams launch on my mark," Minu commanded. "Remember your training. Remember what our ancestors sacrificed to give us this moment. Today we show the Dominion that Earth is not prey." He gripped his controls and watched the countdown timer. 3, 2, 1. Launch. The lunar surface split open. Hidden hangars revealed themselves, and humanity's first wave rose to meet the enemy. 100 ships against 500. The odds seemed impossible. They were not. The Vanguard detected the human ships and prepared for easy kills. Their weapons locked on. Their commanders laughed at the tiny force coming to meet them. Then Captain Minu activated the gravity well generators. The technology was based on designs from the crashed scout ship, but human scientists had improved it for 12,000 years. What they used for faster-than-light travel, humans had weaponized. Small points of infinite gravity appeared in space, scattered throughout the Vanguard formation. 200 ships were caught in the artificial singularities. The gravity crushed them instantly, folding metal and flesh into points smaller than atoms. 200 ships, gone in seconds, without firing a single shot. The remaining 300 ships broke formation in panic. This was not possible. No species had ever done this to them. Gravity weapons were theoretical technology that the Dominion's best scientists said would not be developed for another 3,000 years. But here they were, in the hands of humans. "All teams engage," Minu ordered. The human ships moved like dancers, weaving through space with impossible grace. Their weapons fired, and each shot found its target. Shields, the strongest in the known galaxy, flickered and failed under human plasma fire. The shots were calibrated perfectly, tuned to the exact frequency of shield technology. Because humans had studied that technology for 12,000 years. On the flagship, Overlord watched his vanguard die. He could not believe what he was seeing. 300 ships should have been enough to destroy any young civilization. Instead, they were being torn apart by an enemy that should not exist. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "They are infants. Their species discovered fire only moments ago." Worked frantically at his console, analyzing the battle data. His scales had turned completely white, the color of fear. "Their weapons," said, his voice shaking. "Their weapons are based on our designs, but they are better, more efficient, more powerful. Overlord, their technology is more advanced than ours." "That is impossible." "I am only reporting what I see," turned to face his commander. "Their gravity weapons will not exist in our science for 3. Their plasma frequency perfectly matches our shield weakness. They know us, Overlord. They know us better than we know ourselves." Gripped the arm of his command chair. "The scout ship, the one we lost 12,000 years ago, we never found it." "No, Overlord. We assumed it was destroyed in their sun." "It was not destroyed." His voice was hollow. "They found it, they studied it. They had 12,000 years to prepare." The realization hit him like a physical blow. Every advantage the Dominion had ever held was gone. Every secret weapon was known. Every tactic was anticipated. The humans had not wasted a single day of those 12,000 years. In the battle above Earth's moon, the last of the vanguard fell. Captain Minu watched the final ship explode, then checked his squadron's status. All 12 of his pilots had survived. Not a single human ship was lost. "Command, Vanguard neutralized," Minu reported. "Awaiting orders." Admiral's voice came through clear and calm. "Hold position. Let them wonder, let them fear." Minu understood. The first strike was not just about destroying ships. It was about breaking the enemy's spirit. For the first time in their history, the Dominion had lost a battle before it even truly began. They needed time to feel that loss, time to doubt, time to realize that everything they believed about the universe was wrong. On Earth, in the underground command center, General watched the battle data with satisfaction. The ground forces commander had spent 40 years preparing for invasion. Now, he saw that the space battle would be won long before any foot touched Earth soil. "Better than projected," he said. "We expected to lose at least 10% of the strike force." Doctor nodded, but her face was serious. "The Vanguard was just the beginning. Still has almost 10,000 ships. He will not make the same mistake twice." "He will make different mistakes," said, "and we have prepared for those as well." The engineer was already running calculations on her tablet. "The gravity well generators performed perfectly. We have enough power for 6 more full deployments. After that, we will need to switch to secondary weapons." "The secondary weapons will be sufficient," assured her. "Our ancestors gave us many tools. We will use all of them before this is over." Looked up from her intelligence console. "Overlord, I am intercepting communications. They are confused. Their commanders are arguing. Some want to retreat. Others want to attack with full force." "What does want?" asked. Listened for a moment, translating the alien language that her family had studied for generations. "He wants blood. He is ordering the full fleet to advance. All 10,000 ships." The command center fell silent. 10,000 ships. Even with all their preparations, that was an enormous force. The coming battle would be the largest in human history. Then we give them a battle they will never forget. All stations prepare for Phase 2. The Vanguard was practice. Now the real war begins. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden forces received the order. On Mars, the orbital defense platforms came fully online. In the asteroid belt, thousands of autonomous drones activated. On Europa and Titan and a dozen other moons, weapons pointed toward the incoming enemy. And on Earth itself, the ancient machines began to wake. Deep beneath the pyramids of Giza, generators that had slept for 10,000 years hummed to life. The Great Wall of China, rebuilt secretly over centuries with modern materials, began transmitting targeting data to every human weapon in range. Ancient temples and forgotten monuments revealed their true purpose at last. The Dominion had conquered 43 civilizations. They had never faced a species that saw them coming. They had never faced a species with 12,000 years to prepare. They had never faced humanity. In his fighter, still holding position above the lunar surface, Captain Minu looked at Earth. The blue planet hung in the darkness, beautiful and fragile and strong. Billions of people were down there, most of them unaware of the true history of their species. They did not know about the ancient warning. They did not know about the Millennium Project. They only knew that aliens had come and that someone was fighting back. Minu intended to make sure they never had to know more than that. "All teams," he said into his comm. "The enemy is coming with everything they have, 10,000 ships, but remember this. We have waited 12,000 years for this fight. Every generation before us worked and sacrificed and died so that we could be here now with the tools we need. Do not let them down. Do not let humanity down." 12 voices responded with the same word: never. The fleet began to move. 10,000 warships, the largest invasion force ever assembled, advanced toward Earth. Overlord stood on his bridge, watching the small blue planet grow larger. He had never lost a battle, he had never felt fear, but as his fleet moved forward, he could not shake the cold feeling in his chest. The humans had been waiting. They had been preparing. And their first strike had shown capabilities that should not exist. What else were they hiding? He would soon find out. The full fleet moved like a dark cloud through space, 10,000 warships, each one a city of metal and weapons. Overlord had decided that caution was for cowards. The humans had surprised him once. They would not surprise him again. "All ships attack formation," he commanded. "No mercy, no prisoners, turn their planet to ash." Commander hesitated. "Overlord, perhaps we should study their weapons first, learn how they—" "We learn nothing from prey," snarled. "We are the Dominion, we do not study, we do not wait, we conquer." The strategist said nothing. He had seen the battle data. He knew what the humans could do, but arguing within his current mood would mean death. So stayed silent and watched the fleet advance toward Earth. In the underground command center, Admiral gathered his officers around the main holographic display. The image showed the entire solar system, with red dots representing ships and blue dots representing human defenses. There were far more red dots than blue. "They are coming with everything," said. "Good. That means when we break them completely." Doctor stepped forward. "Before we engage, there is something the Council must know, something I have held back until now." The officers looked at her with surprise. Was the keeper of the ancient knowledge? If she had secrets, they were important ones. "Speak," said. Touched the holographic display and the image changed. Instead of the current battle map, it showed Earth's surface. But it was not the Earth the officers knew. It was Earth as it had been built, layer by layer, over 12,000 years. "The Millennium Project was never just about building ships and weapons," explained. "It was about turning our entire world into a fortress. Every ancient structure served a purpose. Every modern construction continued the work." She pointed to Egypt. "The pyramids are not tombs. They are power collectors. They have been gathering solar energy for 10,000 years, storing it in underground chambers. That energy now powers our planetary shield." The display shifted to China. The Great Wall was rebuilt 17 times throughout history. Each rebuild added new technology. Today it serves as a sensor array and communication network, linking every defense station on Earth. General leaned forward. "We knew some of this, the basics." "You knew the basics," agreed, "but there is more, much more." She showed them image after image. The Colosseum in Rome, rebuilt over a hidden weapons platform. The temples of Angkor Wat, concealing massive energy storage units. The lines, which were actually landing guides for spacecraft that humans had been building in secret for centuries. The International Space Station, continued, was never a research platform. It is a weapons platform. Its scientific instruments are targeting systems for orbital strike capabilities. Captain Minu's eyes went wide. And the space debris, the thousands of pieces we track in orbit. Not debris, almost smiled. Attack drones, 10,000 of them dormant, waiting for activation. They have been up there for over 100 years, disguised as junk. Shook her head in amazement. My family has served the project for generations. Even we did not know all of this. No one person knows everything, said. That was intentional. If any part of the project was discovered, the rest would remain hidden. But now, with the enemy at our door, it is time to reveal our full strength. She turned to the engineer. Show them. Activated her console. The holographic display shifted again, this time showing mountain ranges across Earth. Then the mountains opened. Massive doors, hidden for centuries, slid apart. From inside emerged giants. The sleeping giants, announced. Combat mechs based on designs but improved with 12,000 years of human engineering. We have 200 of them, hidden in mountains on every continent. If the enemy lands ground forces, these will meet them. The mechs were enormous, standing over 100 meters tall. They were humanoid in shape, with thick armor and weapons built into every limb. They had been constructed in pieces over centuries, assembled in secret and hidden until this very moment. General stared at the images with something like hunger in his eyes. He had trained his whole life to fight an enemy invasion. Now he had giants to command. What are their capabilities? He asked. Each giant carries enough firepower to destroy a small city, replied. Their armor can withstand direct hits from orbital bombardment, and they are fast, much faster than their size would suggest. Admiral nodded slowly, taking in all the information. Our ancestors did well. They gave us everything we need. He turned back to the battle display, watching the red dots of the fleet grow closer. Now we use it. He issued a series of orders. The pyramids powered up, feeding energy into a network of satellites. A shimmering barrier appeared around Earth, invisible to the naked eye but strong enough to stop any weapon that could fire. The planetary shield was active. On the moon, Captain Minu received his orders. Strike Team Horizon, Phase 2 is active. We hit them hard, then fall back to Earth's defense perimeter. His squadron launched from their hidden base and raced toward the incoming fleet. Behind them, the lunar defense platforms opened fire. Beams of concentrated energy cut through space, striking ships hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. Each shot was perfectly aimed, guided by targeting data that the Great Wall had been collecting for centuries. The fleet took its first losses. Ships exploded. Others veered off course, damaged and burning, but the fleet was massive and it kept coming. On the flagship, Overlord watched his ships die and felt his anger grow. Return fire, destroy their moon base. Thousands of weapons fired at once. The lunar surface erupted in explosions. Craters became bigger craters. Mountains turned to dust. But the human base was deep underground. The bombardment destroyed the surface, but the true facility survived. And from hidden tunnels, more ships emerged to join the fight. They are like insects, muttered. We crush them and more appear. Then we crush them all, roared. The battle spread across the space between Jupiter and Earth. Human ships darted between the massive warships, firing and dodging. They were smaller and fewer, but they were faster and smarter. Every tactic they used had been studied. Every weapon they fired had a counter. Watched the battle data with growing horror. Overlord, we are losing ships at 3 times the expected rate. Their weapons are targeting our critical systems with perfect accuracy. How do they know our critical systems? They must have studied our ship designs. The scout ship we lost, it contained complete technical specifications. His voice dropped. They know every weakness we have. Slammed his fist against his command chair. Then we use weapons they cannot know. Biological warheads, antimatter bombs, the reality twisters. Looked uncertain. Those weapons are forbidden except in extreme circumstances. This is extreme. The order went out. Ships began launching their most terrible weapons. Missiles carrying plagues that could wipe out entire species. Bombs that turned matter into pure destructive energy. Devices that could tear holes in the fabric of reality itself. In the command center, intercepted the orders. They are deploying forbidden weapons, biological, antimatter, and something called reality twisters. Did not flinch. Doctor, I believe you have countermeasures prepared. Was already at her console. The biological weapons will be neutralized by our atmospheric filters. We developed immunity to plague centuries ago using samples from the crashed ship. She typed rapidly. Antimatter bombs will be caught by our gravity nets, the same technology that destroyed their vanguard, used defensively. And the reality twisters. Paused. Those are more complex. The ancient texts described them but said the rarely used them. They tear holes in space-time. She studied her data. But we theorized they might have such weapons. Our shield includes a dimensional anchor. It should hold reality stable within Earth's orbit. Should. We never had a chance to test it. Considered this for a moment. Then this will be the test. Hold nothing back. The weapons reached Earth's defensive perimeter. The biological missiles hit the atmosphere and dissolved, their deadly payloads destroyed by filters seeded throughout the air. The antimatter bombs were caught by gravity nets and crushed into nothing before they could explode. The reality twisters activated and space began to tear. For a moment the stars themselves seemed to scream. Then the dimensional anchor caught them, holding the fabric of reality together. The tiers sealed. The weapons failed. On the flagship, watched his ultimate weapons do nothing. His scales had turned the pale color of fear, though he would never admit it. How, he whispered, how do they stop everything? Answered quietly. 12,000 years, Overlord. They had 12,000 years to think of every possibility. They know us better than we know ourselves. They have countered weapons we have not even used yet. Doctor's voice broadcast across all frequencies, heard by every ship in the fleet. Your scout warned us. We had 12,000 years. Did you think we would waste them? The fleet continued to advance, continued to fire, continued to lose ships. But for the first time in their long history of conquest, the masters of the Dominion began to feel something they had never felt before. Doubt. The space around Earth burned with light and fire. Thousands of ships exchanged fire with human defenses. Explosions lit up the darkness like new stars being born. It was the largest battle in the history of either species. And they were losing. Admiral watched the battle display, tracking every ship, every weapon, every movement. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt pride. Pride in the generations that came before him. Pride in the men and women fighting right now. Pride in humanity itself. Enemy fleet has lost 30% of its ships, reported. They are trying to regroup near Mars. Do not let them rest, ordered. Captain Menu, pursue and engage, drive them back. Menu's voice came through the comm, steady despite the chaos of battle. Understood, Admiral. All teams follow my lead. His squadron raced toward Mars, where the survivors were gathering. The human ships moved with perfect coordination, each pilot knowing exactly where to be and when. They had trained for this their entire lives. More importantly, their families had trained for this for thousands of years. On the flagship, Overlord watched his empire's greatest fleet being torn apart. Half his ships were destroyed. The rest were scattered and confused. This was not how conquest was supposed to work. "We need to retreat," said carefully. "Regroup at Jupiter, call for reinforcements from the—" Turned on him with fury in his eyes. "Retreat! The Dominion does not retreat. We have never retreated." "We have also never faced an enemy like this," replied. "They know everything about us, our weapons, our tactics, our weaknesses. Continuing this battle is suicide." Commander stepped forward. "The strategist speaks wisdom, Overlord. Live today, conquer tomorrow. That is an old saying." Looked at his two most trusted officers. Both were telling him to run. Both were right. But the thought of fleeing from primitives, from a species that should have been cattle, burned his soul. "Send in the ground forces," he commanded. "If we cannot win in space, we will win on their planet." His face went pale. The ground forces, but their planetary shield has to have gaps. No shield is perfect. Find them, exploit them, land our warriors on their world and take it piece by piece. Hesitated. "We have 50,000 ground troops. If we lose them—" "Then we lose them," snarled. "But we might win, and that is all that matters." The order went out. Dropships launched from the surviving warships, racing toward Earth. Each ship carried 100 warriors, armed with the best weapons the Dominion could build. They aimed for weak points in the planetary shield, spots where the energy was thinner. In the command center detected the approaching force. Ground invasion incoming. 50,000 troops targeting multiple continents. General smiled for the first time since the battle began. "Finally, something for my forces to do." He turned to "Wake the giants." His fingers flew across her console. Sleeping giants activating. All 200 units coming online. Across Earth, mountain doors opened. The massive mechs stepped out into the light, their armor gleaming in the sun. Each one was a walking fortress, capable of destroying an army by itself, and there were 200 of them. The dropships entered the atmosphere. The planetary shield was not perfect, just as had predicted. Small gaps existed, and they found them. Thousands of troops landed on every continent, ready to burn and kill and conquer. They expected primitive resistance, frightened humans with crude weapons. They found hell waiting for them. In North America, 50 dropships landed in a mountain valley. The warriors emerged, weapons ready, eager for battle. Then the mountain in front of them moved. A sleeping giant rose from the earth, 100 meters of metal and death. Its arm raised and a beam of energy swept across the valley. 300 warriors died in a single second. The same scene repeated across the world. In Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in South America. Wherever they landed, giants waited. The alien warriors fired their weapons, but the mech's armor held. They tried to run, but the giants were faster. They tried to hide, but sensors found them everywhere. General coordinated the ground battle from his command post. Unit 7, enemy concentration in Sector 4. Unit 12, reinforcements needed at the Eastern Front. Unit 20, excellent work on that drop ship. Each giant had a pilot, a human who had trained their entire life for this moment. They moved their massive machines with the skill of artists, crushing the invaders without mercy. They had expected to terrify humanity. Instead, humanity terrified them. Watched the battle data with satisfaction. Ground invasion failing. Enemy forces down 40% and dropping. "Good," replied. "Let none of them escape. Let them see what happens when they come to our home." In space, the battle continued. Captain Minu led his squadron through the heart of the fleet, destroying ships with every pass. His fighters moved like water, flowing around enemy fire and striking at weak points. "All ships target their command vessels," Minu ordered. "Cut off their heads and the body will die." His pilots obeyed, focusing their attacks on the largest ships. One by one, the enemy commanders fell. Their crews panicked without leadership. Ships collided with each other. Weapons fired at random. The fleet became a confused mass of dying vessels. Admiral activated a special weapon that had been saving for this moment. Activate the web. A network of satellites shifted position around Earth. Energy flowed between them, creating a lattice of power that surrounded the planet. Any ship that tried to approach was caught in the web, its systems overloaded, its weapons disabled. The web is active, reported. No enemy vessel can reach Earth now. They are trapped between our space forces and our planetary defenses. On the flagship, Overlord received report after report of disaster. His fleet was being destroyed. His ground forces were being slaughtered. Every plan he made, every tactic he tried, the humans had an answer for. "This cannot be happening," he said, his voice hollow. "We are the Dominion. We have conquered 43 civilizations." "And we will not conquer the 44th, said quietly. "Overlord, we must retreat, now, before we lose everything." Looked at his strategist. The anger was gone from his eyes now. Only emptiness remained. "Order the retreat. All ships fall back to Jupiter." The survivors of the fleet, fewer than 3,000 ships now, began to turn away from Earth. They had come to conquer. They were leaving in defeat. But Captain Minu was not finished. "Admiral, they are retreating," he reported. "Orders." Considered for a moment. Part of him wanted to let them go. The battle was won. Earth was safe. But he knew that retreating ships would bring word back to the Dominion. More fleets would come. Larger fleets. The war would never end. "Pursue," he said. "Do not let any ship escape." Minu's squadron raced after the fleeing enemy. Other human ships joined the chase. They tried to run, but their ships were damaged and slow. One by one, they were caught and destroyed. On the ground, the remaining warriors saw their ships disappearing from the sky. They knew they were abandoned. Some fought to the death. Others threw down their weapons and surrendered, hoping for mercy they had never shown to others. General accepted the surrenders. Prisoners were valuable. They would have information about the Dominion, information that could help humanity prepare for whatever came next. "Secure all prisoners," he ordered, "and someone tell the giants to stand down. The ground war is over." The sleeping giants stopped their advance. Their weapons powered down. They stood like statues across the planet, monuments to human strength and patience. In space, the last of the fleet was being destroyed. Only the flagship remained, protected by a desperate ring of bodyguard ships. Captain Minu led his squadron toward it. "Admiral, the flagship is still active," he reported. "Overlord is still alive." His response was immediate. "Capture him, we want him alive." Minu smiled. Alive was harder than dead, but far more satisfying. "Understood, Admiral, beginning boarding action." His ship docked with the flagship's emergency airlock. Behind him, a team of human soldiers prepared to board. They were armed with weapons designed specifically to fight warriors, based on 12,000 years of study and improvement. "All teams, we are breaching," Minu announced. "Target is the enemy commander. Capture alive if possible, kill if necessary." The airlock opened, and humanity entered the heart of the enemy fleet. The Battle of Earth was almost over. 6 hours had passed since they arrived. In that time, they had lost over 8,000 ships and 50,000 ground troops. The greatest invasion force in galactic history had been crushed by a species they thought was primitive. In the command center, Admiral allowed himself a small smile. The war was not over. The Dominion was vast and more enemies would come. But today, humanity had proven something important. They were not prey. They never had been. And now the Dominion would learn what happened when prey had 12,000 years to grow teeth of its own. Captain Minu moved through the corridors of the flagship with his weapon raised. Behind him, 12 soldiers followed in perfect formation. The ship was dark and damaged, emergency lights flickering red. The smell of smoke and something alien filled the air. "Bridge is 2 levels up," his voice came through his earpiece. She was still in the command center, guiding him with intercepted ship data. Resistance is light. Most crew are dead or fled. What about? Still on the bridge, he is not running. Minyu nodded. Of course the Overlord was not running. Leaders like did not run. They died on their thrones or lived in chains. There was no middle ground. His team climbed through maintenance shafts and broken corridors. They encountered a few warriors, but the fights were short. Human weapons cut through alien armor with ease. They fought bravely, but bravery was not enough against technology that was centuries ahead of their own. As Minyu moved, his mind wandered to the history he had been taught since childhood, the true history that most humans never learned. He thought of the ancient people who found the crashed ship 12,000 years ago. They could have ignored the dying pilot's warning. They could have dismissed it as madness. Instead, they listened. They believed. They began a project that would span all of human history. He thought of the priests in ancient Sumer who carved star maps into clay tablets, hiding them in temples for future generations. He thought of the Egyptian pharaohs who built the pyramids not as tombs but as power stations, knowing they would never see them used. He thought of Chinese emperors who ordered walls built across mountains, understanding only that the walls would matter someday. He thought of the philosophers in Greece who advanced mathematics, creating equations they did not need for problems that did not yet exist. He thought of Roman engineers who developed techniques for building underground, techniques that would hide humanity's secrets for. He thought of medieval monks who preserved ancient texts, not understanding them but knowing they were important. Each generation passed the knowledge to the next. Each generation added something new. The project had thousands of names over the centuries. Sometimes it was a religion. Sometimes it was a secret society. Sometimes it was hidden within governments, but it never stopped. It never wavered. The Industrial Revolution was not an accident. Scientists and inventors who had inherited the ancient knowledge pushed technology forward with purpose. Steam engines, electricity, factories. Each advancement fed into the larger plan. The world wars were terrible, but they served the project. Nations that knew the secret cooperated in hidden ways even as they fought publicly. Military technology advanced by decades. Rockets were built. The atom was split. Humanity reached for the stars. After 1947, when the crashed ship was finally revealed to world governments, everything accelerated. The Cold War was a performance. The space race was real preparation. Countries that were supposed to be enemies worked together on the Millennium Project, building ships and weapons in secret while pretending to threaten each other. Minyu's parents had served the project. His grandparents, his great-grandparents. 10 generations of his family had dedicated their lives to preparing for this day. And now he was here, walking through an enemy ship, about to capture the commander of the force that his ancestors had feared for so long. The bridge doors were ahead. 2 guards stood before them, weapons raised. Minyu did not slow down. "Flash charges," he ordered. His soldiers threw grenades that exploded with blinding light. The guards screamed and covered their eyes. Before they could recover, human weapons ended them. Minyu kicked open the bridge doors. Overlord stood in the center of the room, surrounded by the bodies of his crew. Most had died in the battle. A few had been killed by himself when they suggested surrender. The Overlord's ceremonial blade was stained with blood. "So," said, his voice tired but proud, "the prey comes to claim its prize." Minyu raised his weapon. "You are under arrest for crimes against sentient life. The people of Earth will judge you." Laughed, but there was no joy in it. "Crimes? I have done what my people have always done. What we were born to do. We conquer, we rule, that is our purpose." "Your purpose ends today." The Overlord looked at the human captain with something like curiosity. "How? That is what I cannot understand. How did you know we were coming? How did you prepare so perfectly?" Minyu considered whether to answer. Then he decided deserved to know. deserved to understand just how badly his people had failed. 12,000 years ago, one of your ships crashed on our world, Minyu said. The pilot survived long enough to warn us. He told us everything. Your weapons, your tactics, your history. He gave us star maps and technology. And then he told us you would come. His eyes widened. The scout, the one we lost. He crashed on purpose. He hated the Dominion. Your people conquered his generations before his birth. He was a slave soldier forced to help destroy others. When he found Earth, he made a choice. He warned us. He gave us a chance. One pilot whispered, one traitor, and he brought down the Dominion. He did not bring you down. He gave us the tools to do it ourselves. We had 12,000 years to prepare. Every generation worked toward this day. Every war, every invention, every sacrifice, all of it led here. Stood silent for a long moment. Then slowly he dropped his blade. It clattered on the metal floor. I will not give you the satisfaction of killing me in battle, he said. If you want me alive, take me. Let your people judge me. Let them see what the Dominion created. Minyu gestured to his soldiers. They moved forward and secured the Overlord in energy cuffs. Did not resist. There is one thing you should know, the Overlord said as he was led away. The Dominion is vast. This fleet was large, but it was not our entire force. Others will come. Larger fleets, better prepared. Minyu nodded. We know, and we will be ready for them too. Shook his head. You cannot prepare forever. Eventually, you will face something you did not expect. Perhaps, but we have spent 12,000 years learning to adapt. That is what humans do. We survive, we improve, we overcome. The Overlord was taken to a shuttle and transported to Earth. He would face trial for the crimes of the Dominion, not just the invasion of Earth, but the destruction of 43 other civilizations. Witnesses would be found, evidence would be gathered, justice would be served. On Earth, the battle was over. The skies were clear. The planetary shield powered down. People emerged from shelters and looked up at the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, an enemy had come and failed. In the underground command center, Admiral received the news of capture. He nodded once, then turned to his officers. This victory belongs to all of us, to everyone who fought today. But more than that, it belongs to everyone who came before us. The ancestors who received the warning and chose to act. The generations who kept the secret and continued the work. They are the true heroes of this day. Doctor stepped forward. What now, Admiral? The Dominion will send more fleets. Yes, they will, and we will defeat them as we defeated this one. Eyes hardened. But I do not intend to simply defend. The pilot who warned us told us about 43 conquered civilizations. Many of those species still exist, enslaved by the Dominion. They deserve freedom. Looked up from her console. You mean to attack the Dominion, liberate the conquered worlds? That is exactly what I mean. Phase 2 of the Millennium Project was always planned. Defense was only the first step. The second step is liberation. General smiled. My ground forces are ready. Give the order, and we will bring war to the Dominion's doorstep. Nodded. The shipyards on Mars and Titan have been building offensive vessels for 200 years. We have a fleet ready to launch. Captain Minyu's voice came through the comm, transmitted from his shuttle as it approached Earth. Admiral, I have Overlord in custody. He says more fleets will come. Let them come, replied. By the time they arrive, we will be ready, and by the time they understand what they face, it will be too late. He looked at the main display, which showed the solar system. His solar system, humanity's home, defended and secure. The thought they were invaders, he said quietly. They thought they were predators coming to claim easy prey, but they made a mistake. They warned us, and we had 12,000 years to prepare. He straightened his uniform and turned to face his officers. The invasion of Earth is over. Now it is time to plan the liberation of the galaxy. The Millennium Project enters its final phase. Across the solar system, human ships gathered. On Mars and Europa and Titan, shipyards worked at full capacity. Soldiers trained for wars on alien worlds. Scientists studied captured technology, looking for new advantages. Humanity had survived. Humanity had won. But more than that, humanity had shown what they truly were. Not prey, not conquerors, liberators. And the Dominion would learn that the hard way.